murdered in 1982 by her short-term boyfriend. You might know her as she was the older daughter in the movie Poltergeist. And her name is Dominique Dune, so it can get confusing. That's who they're talking about. And she was killed in her driveway. She was strangled by her boyfriend and was strangled so badly she went into a coma and then died a few days later. So she was only 22 at the time. So I think he definitely understands violence, and her attacker got off pretty much with a slap on the wrist.
Right.
So yeah.
Ito addresses all of that when he's in his chambers. Dominic Dunn has come to his chambers, and he says that he's giving him a seat in the front next to the Goldmans because Ito is assuming that he'll have some sensitivity around the Goldmans, given that his daughter was brutally murdered as well. And then we get Dominic Dunn basically fessing up to some bias on his part, that he wants to hope that this case goes better than his daughter's murderer's case went. Her murderer got off, and he's saying, we hope this trial goes better. In other words, that
completely. He never minced words about his feelings for OJ.
Right. Ever. In a very peculiar way, he responds by not really responding, but then showing Dominic Dunn a picture of some fan mail from Arsenio Hall.
Dude, like Judge Ito is like, even for LA, he's pushing it.
Whoa.
Like, he's the most LA court judge you could ever find in your life.
And Dominic Dunn is just like, all right, dude, whatever.
Yeah, Arsenio Hall, because he's like Mr. Blue Blood, it's like, Judge Ito, I didn't know you were a member of the Dog Pound. Excuse me. Let me address you properly now, Whoop, whoop, my friend.
Yeah, okay, so...
It's like exactly how it is.
Then we get Darden running into Cochran in the halls of justice. We're outside the courtroom. And he gives him this little speech about how they need to respect each other, and I don't know, basically like,
let's treat each other
like
respect. That's it.
Respect, blah blah blah. And
basic human
decency. Clearly, this like speech that he had been working on for a couple of days, like a prepared thing.
Sure.
And Cochran responds by saying, "I'm not here to respect anyone. I'm here to win."
Yep. That was burn level 3. That was a Cochran burn rating.
How far do the burns go up to? Because we're getting 5. A burn level max soon. I don't want to know what number to assign it.
It's a 5, and it's coming.
That one is a 5. All right, but that's coming up. We're not addressing that yet.
No, we're not addressing it yet.
Yeah, and he gives it's Darden. This is Darden's like growing up episode. This is Darden grows up. Right?
This is Darden grows up to find out his parents never loved him. Like, this is rough. This is a little bit more than becoming a man. This is like becoming a man and finding out that you're, like adopted or switched at birth. Like, he's going through a complete lack of faith in everything. Having his mentor
put down and taken apart in this episode. It's
just swat him around like a fly. It really isn't. And he seems like a really nice guy. I've got to say, I feel for Chris Darden, because he got it even maybe worse than this show is depicting his treatment.
Oh yeah, you think? See, I don't know so much about the case from when it was.
I remember it was like within the Black community, Chris Darden was just kind of a pariah. And as I watch this now, it's just really unfortunate because he was in a no-win situation.
Yeah, he really was.
Yeah.
Okay, so, excuse me. So we're outside the courtroom. We get into the courtroom, and Shapiro is trying to get to exclude the history of domestic violence, all of the 911.
Why not?
All of the.
Yeah.
Sure, go for it. You guys.
This is what you're paying for. Why not?
Bill Henchman gets up and kind of defends the being able to admit that evidence, and he actually gets his big moment. I think that's his biggest moment before the case kills him. So then we get after his little speech, we get Darden coming up to give his own little speech on the use of the N-word in the trial, and I'm gonna let you handle this one. I'm not gonna.
Right.
This is really.
Okay.
Here.
I will take, and again, I'm gonna look at it for both ways because on first watch, like my Mark and I were all high fives Johnny Cochran. Okay, and so is the Twitterverse. Everyone's like, "Yeah, Johnny." On rewatch, Chris Darden cannot win. Oh my God, he cannot win in this situation. So he was again.
No.
This is a pre-trial, or this is the beginning of the trial. So they're trying to get stuff thrown out just for the sake of it, okay? And so Chris Darden knows that he has his police testimony coming up, that he's going to have to deal with this word. So this is actually Chris trying to save himself again from dealing with Furman and Van Adder later. So he's like, let me get up.
Can't win a situation of like he has to deal with Furman, so he's trying to figure out how to deal with Furman.
With that, and so really, it's a brilliant idea to go. Well, if I can throw out everything to have to do with the N word, then it kind of frees him up with Mark Furman. So he gets up there.
Throw it out, though. He's not trying to throw it out. He's not putting up a motion to throw out a testimony that has the N word in it. What he's trying to do is sway the jury into, I don't know.
No, it's not even the jury. His whole thing with the judge is that if people hear this word, they're going to get emotional about it.
Right.
So if we use this word, the jury won't be able to rationally listen to the evidence because this word is so powerful. Okay? Right. Which honestly, I don't disagree. On basis, I get it. I totally get it. But Johnny comes up out of the park, left field, and goes, "Excuse me, are you saying that people of color can't deal with a word? Are you saying they don't have the maturity or the emotional ability?" And it was just brilliant.
It's a rough game to play. You can't. As soon as he started on that train, I was like, "There." Of course, Johnny's going to respond by saying, "They're. Are you not saying that there are not mature enough to handle this?" It's the soft bigotry of low expectations. That whole thing. Like
right, which is a brilliant counter argument. And then in another twist, and this really happened because I fact checked this. This actually came from Darden's book that he wrote about this trial. Johnny goes up and whispers to him, "Nigga, please."
Oh, so that really did happen?
That really happened, Jamie Sleaney.
Did it come before the speech, or before Johnny's speech, or after?
After, because that's the whole point, is he just argued about using the word and then uses the word on Chris in the courtroom. This is level 10 head games. This is your God shitting on you. Literally, this is Jesus Christ rising from the grave and being like, everybody gets to go to heaven except you, Chris. You suck. Gabriel, you close that gate for Chris Darden. That's what this is, man.
Wow.
In open court.
I mean, it plays out as a fucking amazing television.
Amazing. That's a burn rating 5, by the way.
Yeah, that's the 5. Okay, we go up to 5. That is a burn rating 5. Yeah. So for me watching this, I'm like, okay, he gets up, he gives his little speech. As soon as he starts down the logic of where he's going, I'm like, this is not going to play well. Also because he's trying to play Johnny Cochran's game. You don't play Johnny Cochran's game.
No.
You don't get in the arena and decide you're going to start playing Johnny Cochran's game. No.
Yeah. So you don't start Candy Crush on level 900. You don't know all the rules.
You don't know what's going on.
No, you start at level 1. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So he gives his little speech. He's got his little legal pad with all his little yellow papers crumpled up and like askew and whatever. And I'm just like, oh God, this is not going to end well. And Cochran takes the podium and obviously levels him. And I got this sense when it was happening. Remember in Return of the Jedi when you're in Jabba's lair and the floor opens up and that poor little dancer girl falls through the floor and this enormous, like slimy, many-teethed monster is just waiting for her. You know,
yeah.
It was like that, except with like legal papers and expensive suits.
I'm pretty sure to the people in the room it was exactly like that.
No, it was just like this. Not at all. And of course, you get the first taste of Johnny's brilliant way with words at the end of a speech. This was outlandish, unfortunate, and unwarranted.
Alliteration 101.
Alliteration queen. Actually, that is assonance, but technically.
Okay, fine.
But and please. N-word, please. Whoa. I just have whoa
Wow.
in my notes.
Just shuts it down. It just shuts it down. So then we have a really
one quick
emotional
second
scene.
again. We keep doing this, but Courtney B. Vance, holy shit.
Holy shit.
He needs awards.
All the
coming
awards.
out of his ass next year.
All the awards. I mean, honestly, 5 episodes in, and I'm pretty sure Courtney B. Vance is Johnny Cochran, Sarah Paulson. That would be acting. That Sarah Paulson is Marcia Clark, and that the actor playing Chris Darden is Chris Darden, because that is Chris Darden, right? It's amazing. It's amazing. So next we have a scene where Chris and Marcia are discussing kind of what just happened. You know, they're probably having like a what the fuck meeting. And again, it shows their friendship / boss, subordinate, bordering on inappropriate frankness with each other. And he tells her his issues, you know, and what happened to him in college. And he kind of shuts her down really well. Because he's like, you know, back in the 70s, you know, when I was in law school, you know, with affirmative action, she's like, oh yeah, I know about that. He's like, no, you don't. You're Black. You don't.
Yeah,
and like just kind of shuts her down right away.
He's like, no, you don't. You're white.
And kind of tells how, you know, he completely deserved to be in that school. He had the grades. He worked his ass off. But, you know, he dealt with feeling that people thought that he didn't belong there just from the color of his skin. How he's feeling that same sort of vibe he's getting from the actual trial, the way the community's treating him and the way Johnny is treating him. You know, that he's, and I'm going to say it, he's an Uncle Tom. And
it's unavoidable.
Yeah, and it's just really, it's really too bad.
They actually say it in the episode, right?
Yeah, they completely say it. So, so Marcia listens, so that's nice. And then we cut to, again, this is a Cochran special. Did you see that robe?
Oh, that robe. Oh, the pajamas. Oh, her pajamas. The wife's pajamas. There's
everything.
So many amazing things happening in this bedroom. I can't.
Yeah.
I was frantically pounding away on my keyboard. We got the tasteful curtain valances and the natural finish on his entertainment center, and we got. I said he looks like he just took like a nice long soak in his deep soaker because he's like.
Oh yeah.
He's like live.
There's definitely some off-screen deep soaker action. Yeah.
He's going over his opening statement with his wife, and I actually really, again, this is another example of me kind of like appreciating Ryan Murphy's little take on marital
dynamics. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a little dreamy-eyed, but I like it. I like that these are couples that like help each other, and you know that the wives are not just whatever, they're like involved in sorting the stuff out with their powerful husbands. I kind of dig that.
Yeah, like he values her opinion, you know. He wants.
I mean, she doesn't like it. He's gonna change it. Yeah, I like that. So he goes through his thing, and I think his line was that. What was the line that she didn't like? Something about how it's like blunders in blue. This case is all blunders in blue, and she was like, "Yeah, it sounds like you're trying to be funny. Like you can do better than that." And he's like,
"Yep,
okay." Well, then he rewrites it really quickly. This case is contaminated, compromised, and corrupted. And she's like, "There you go." And then they bone.
That's it.
Because
well, they almost bone, but I do love how Mrs. Cochran's on switch is closing her book, and he's like, "Did you just close that book?" And she's like, "I closed that book," and it's like, woohoo! It's gonna happen. Like I need a code like that.
And then
I'm doing everything wrong.
This beautiful symphony of light blue silk and mustard silk, and it's just
textures,
gorgeous
textures, beautiful. I need an interior designer because it's really
right.
Just the textures are on point. So he gets a call from his junior counsel, and there's like a funny moment. He's like, "Where are you? At work?" And like they look at each other like, "Of course we're at work. Like we haven't left work in 3 months."
Yeah. We don't live at home anymore, Johnny.
We're billing 106 hours a week. Like, of course we're at work.
We don't get to phone our beautiful silked wives at home.
No, they're working. And it's kind of crazy what happens, actually, on a case this big. So Robert Shapiro's office apparently forgot to send paperwork to the, this is the crux of, the legal system in America, is that both sides need to know what the other side's doing.
Right.
And that's what they prepare,
It's called
against each other.
Discovery. It's
Yeah,
called
it's Discovery.
dickhead.
Yeah,
My
and
cousin Minnie.
oh, it's perfect. And Robert Shapiro's office just forgot to send the information on about 6 to 8 defense witnesses, So his junior counsel, with good reasons, like, you can't mention their names. Like, they don't exist as far as this case is concerned. And Johnny's like, no, I'm going to do it. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, you know what? It's time for every man to fall on his sword, and this time it's yours. Which is crazy.
Yeah, Johnny's coming off like the last episode to me, he seemed like, this hero figure where you're just like, wow, he's so cool and so great. And this episode, he's like Machiavellian.
Yeah.
Like, kind of shady. But I still
Yeah,
like
I mean, he's a taskmaster. I mean, he didn't get where he is, without pulling some tricks and, doing what he's got to do. So anyway, it just sucks that this is Robert Shapiro's mistake, but this junior counsel for Cochran has got to take the heat for it.
Yeah, that bothered me a little bit, to be honest with you. But I think because he's the lead now, that's what comes with being the lead. Like, it's your underling that's responsible. But yeah, are we surprised that Shapiro's office fucked up something like this?
I think Ryan Murphy's has taken a position on who is the weakest link of the defense team, and I have a feeling it's Bob Shapiro.
A clear position.
Yeah.
So they get to the trial. This is the first day of the first real day of the trial. We're not doing motions and hearings anymore. We're in it. And
it's a media circus.
Media circus. A lot of oak taggers out. I'm gonna call them the oak taggers. Got their oak tags.
We had a burn rating number 2. We had a burn rating number 2 from F. Lee Bailey. Yeah. This is from F. Lee Bailey to Bob Shapiro. Come on, Bob. Just pretend we're at the Oscars. It's just like, it's so ridiculous.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
They do give Nathan Lane a bunch of really juicy lines.
Well, why hire him, right?
Why else? Right. Why else hire him? Exactly. So we have Marsha giving her opening statement, and it's all blood and I don't know.
It's blood evidence. It's her mic drop.
She's talking about blood evidence.
It's her blood evidence mic drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She thinks it's a mic
drop. This
drop.
is like Marsha. Yeah. Trust me, Marsha Clark at any dinner party since 1994 to presidents, but they had all their blood mixed together where it shouldn't have been. Mic drop. What time's dinner? Like, that's what she does.
And then we get Cochran. We already covered this basically, but yeah, he opens with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. and just goes on from there. And then an interesting tidbit for me personally, one of the witnesses that they didn't submit to Discovery that he mentions in the opening statement is a man by the name of Joe Stellini, which is my last name.
Never heard of that name before.
It was a very thrilling moment in my life to hear Johnny Cochran, or Courtney B. Vance, I guess, but Courtney B. Vance as Johnny Cochran is even better, say my last name with Cochran flair.
It's amazing. And you know what? Just so you know, listeners, we are on the hunt for who this Joe Stellini is, because we will not rest here at the Squeeze without getting him on this program for you in the future. So don't worry, it's coming.
Let's do this.
Yes. We have intel from Rome working on this as we speak.
Okay, so then we get so when he mentions those witnesses, Bill Henchman is like rifling through his papers. Where are these witnesses that he's talking about? And obviously they're not there. They weren't submitted. So he's kind of flipping out a little bit. So when Cochran ends his opening
the jury is there. The jury is there.
Yeah, well, this is how dirty this move is. It's a dirty, so dirty that it kills Bill Henchman, basically.
Hodgman, yes.
Henchman. I call him Henchman. So he gets up, he's all flustered, he's basically having a panic attack that turns into like a heart attack over just how I think the word is jurisprudence. There's such a lack of jurisprudence here, and he's never seen anything quite like it. Even Ito says, I've never seen that look on your face, Bill. Are you okay? And he's clearly not okay. He collapses. And, is carted out of the courtroom and on a stretcher.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe.
With his,
yeah.
It's kind of amazing.
Because you could tell someone like Bill Hodgman is just like in all my years, like this is such a what? He's just gonna name people we've never heard of and don't have any testimony for. Like, sure,
but you can't do that.
You can't do that. You can't.
He broke him. Yeah,
he broke him. Yeah, he did. He broke him. So Bill gets carted out, and Ito, in an amazing way, just kind of looks at everyone and goes, "Well, I guess we gotta adjourn court for the day. I guess we're done. Has everyone seen my sands of time? I've got 6 now. Arsenio Hall." Like, it's just like, am I still on TV?
Like, I'd like to introduce my house band. And then...
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why they had on. Do you remember? I think it was Conan O'Brien, the original Conan show, the late show. He used to have the dancing Itos.
Yes, and I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Throwback. All right. Do you want to take this quick phone call, nighttime Betty phone call between Marcia Clark and Chris Darden?
Yeah, I do want to actually, because
split screen of them in bed on the phone with each other.
It's like so pillow talk. Actually, what I really noticed the most out of the scene was that we were just in the Cochran's bedroom, and now we're in the Clark bedroom, and oh, what a difference. We've got a half-empty bottle of nail polish remover and like one of those digital alarm clocks from like 87.
Yeah.
And she's got like her penny cotton robe on. It's just awful in there.
It's just, you know what? Again, I'm just going to say let's just move on.
So, I mean, that's really all I have.
Okay, so basically, she calls him. It's right. It's like how pathetic. It was just literally what I was thinking was, wow, where do you put your pizza boxes? Where
the cats?
Marsha makes him.
Where the cats?
Makes some room for the cats.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Okay, so quick phone call. She basically calls Chris to tell him he's been promoted to prosecution because Bill Hodgman's dead.
Right.
And she asked him if he's happy, and of course he goes like, "Yeah, of course I'm happy. It's amazing." But again, like it's just a little bit louder. You can hear the bells tolling for Chris Darden's career insanity. It's getting worse and worse and worse.
Well, that's where it feels really great. This frying pan. What's that fire like?
Yeah. Just let me know. Why don't you jump in and let me know? So then we get to we saw to the Dominic Dunn dinner party.
Ooh, this is great. So
this is rich.
He's got this dining room that's got like this long, crazy ass, like Downton Abbey style, Chippendale.
Yeah, it's a formal dinner.
Dining table.
This is what formal dinner used to mean when you got that an invitation.
Servants. I mean, it does. Yeah. He is kind of like a holdover from the estate.
Yeah.
We have servants.
It's what he is.
Serve dinner, right?
He's old money. Fun fact: I actually found out that Dominic Dunn's ex-wife was a ranching heir. She was a ranching heiress.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Not many people can say that. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a step down from like old oil money. Yeah. So basically, this is his circle. These are his people. Like I kept thinking, like what I jotted down was these are Vanity Fair readers. These are 1980s Vanity Fair readers. This is Upper East Side. This is Park Avenue between 58th and 78th.
Manhattan?
Well, no, but these are the type of people.
Oh, okay. I was like, that house is not in Manhattan, is
no,
it?
They're not in Manhattan. But this is like the West Coast outlet,
sure.
of those same types of people.
Sure. It's the crustiest of the upper crust, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
he's dealing with.
What I wrote down was, "Oh, cool, Thanksgiving China," and then I realized, no, this is
not Thanksgiving. It's just Tuesday.
It's their everyday China.
Right.
So they hold they're talking, they're openly gossiping, and just so you know, Dominic Dunn made basically a semi-career for about 10 years after the trial, just going to dinner parties like this and gossiping with people. Like they would just invite him over to get OJ gossip. And he actually said himself, like it would be like 5 minutes of like politeness, like once like everybody had a drink in them, and then somebody would bite the bullet and go, "So tell us everything you know about the OJ case." So he kind of pimped himself out just like this over and over again. But these people are so whatever you want to call them, that, they know they're talking about a racially charged subject, that they all quiet up when the help comes in to serve them their course.
They're next to their horse. When the help comes in, yeah. They start talking about what a shame it is that, Nicole, that man that beat her and murdered her. And then as soon as the servants come in with, I guess it's the first course.
Yeah.
It's just like,
he spills the beans like Nicky Carnaggio at 2 a.m. Like, he's just like, well, anyway, did you know that OJ bought her father a Hertz dealership? Did you know that they got together when Nicole was 18? She's never known anyone else. Did you know that Paula Barbieri, who is Simpson's girlfriend, actually broke up with him and was with Michael Bolton in Vegas? And everyone's like, no. Mm-hmm. Like, to bring Michael Bolton into this, like, I need to have a serious conversation with Ryan Murphy.
Yeah, actually, my sister did point out when I told her we were going over and recapping these episodes, she had pointed out that the Michael Bolton choice in the second episode, I believe it was, or could have been the third episode. In the cold open, they play out the cold open with a Michael Bolton song, and she did mention the Nicole Simpson connection to Michael Bolton. She was like, I wonder if that was an intentional move.
Oh, the Paula Barbieri. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but Paula Barbieri got back with him after he killed his ex-wife, which was a strange thing. She came running home to OJ.
Wow.
So, yeah, strange. I'm sure everyone at dinner thought the same. So yeah, so we can discuss. I have a feeling we're going to get more of these Dominic Dunn scenes. So,
I hope so.
We can expand on those.
So, now we learn actually from this dinner party that the jury is going to visit the Brentwood home and the Rockingham home.
Correct. And
For why though? Why? What is?
I think the thought process was that they needed to see how the locations were laid out to understand how the crime could be committed.
Oh,
I think it was like, and both sides were okay with it. Like, this is another situation with Marcia did not fight this at all.
She should have.
Of course she should have. Why do they need to be? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, they do a little bit of staging because they know that they're going to be right. They're going to be at his home. So Johnny's in there like, oh, this won't do. He's pulling, naked. There's like a naked painting of some. I think it's a white lady, right?
Yeah, it's Paula Barbieri. It's
Paula,
his
really?
Girlfriend. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go. So that's got to come off. He's got like pictures of his coffee buddies. They got to come off. And replaces all of it with pictures of him and his mom in a wheelchair.
Yeah, he
African art.
Yeah, he basically went to like the African American West Elm and just kind of unloaded and was like, this is what you need. Like, you need tribal statues and pictures of your mama every 8 feet.
Yeah. And totally. So he stages his home, and then also for the was it not Brentwood? Where was the murder committed?
That was Brentwood.
Brentwood.
Rockingham's OJ's house. I think they're both in Brentwood. That's why it gets confusing. But the condo, they call it, that was Nicole's house.
And they cleared that out entirely.
Well, that's because this is something
humanity.
Well, no, they didn't do it on purpose. There's 2 theories. There's a theory that OJ paid off her dad, Nicole's dad, to do it because they were selling the condo. So he's like, hey, do me a favor. Can you take care of her personal effects? Because I'm in jail. I didn't do it. And her dad went along and did that because they were selling the condo. So they don't really blame the prosecution for that. They don't blame the defense for that. But Marcia should have gone there and checked before they did this walkthrough, and she didn't.
Right. Again, not quite in her league.
Right.
Because everything counts quite a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then, but I love the montage of them pulling all this stuff out and putting all this, all the new stuff in. It's all to the tune of Fantastic Voyage.
Yeah. I wrote that down too.
I like that upbeat kind of like thing.
This is the best. And people are like fawning at like his Heisman Trophy, and they're just going through, and it basically becomes like a fan tour for the day. Yeah, it's completely ridiculous. It serves no purpose for the prosecution at all.
So,
and then so Darden takes a seat in the outside garden on the bench.
Oh, we skipped a bunch of stuff though because we were just staging at that point. We're not there.
Sorry, we haven't there yet. Okay.
Right. Then we go to OJ in jail. Again, Johnny goes to visit OJ, and Johnny's addressing his lack of connection to the Black community.
Yeah.
And he asks him how many Black people, before this all happened, how many Black people did you actually interact with on a regular basis? And not many for OJ at this point, the golfer and the mayor of Brentwood. Apparently, he was called the mayor of Brentwood.
Yeah.
He's like, how do you think that's going to play for your downtown jury? So, I want you to think of these things, and we need to prepare you for connecting with the jury that we've selected for you.
And let me tell you something. On rewatch, I felt this was a little harsh from Johnny. And actually what I wrote down was, well, where do you live, Johnny? And this kind of like, you're not Black enough kind of whole thing,
Right,
which I think it's great that John Singleton directed this, because I think he's, he kind of took a lot more liberties than I think someone else would have done, to kind of really push this issue. Because again, I feel it's unfair in the same way Chris Darden's not Black enough. Why? Because he works in the DA's office. Mm-hmm. And then this, it's kind of like this like judging. And it's like, look, at the end of the day, redecorate the house, do what you got to do to win. But there's a little bit too much judgment passed, I think, on just OJ's life, because it's really not a Cochran's business.
Well, but again, this was more for the strategy to win, right? I mean,
yeah, which is totally fine. I totally agree with that.
I don't think it was judgy necessarily, but
it was like judgy on, this is why we've got to do it, because you don't do this. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And to me, it just felt a little much. Just felt a little much.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Just felt a little much.
The whole thing is like beyond me, so.
No, I get it. So totally. So then we get to the actual day of the staging, and it's a circus. It's a complete circus in every sense of the word. When
the jury comes, it's crazy. So they're going through the house, and they're, like you said before, oh look, it's the Heisman. It's a fan tour of the house. It's ridiculous. And then Darden dares to sit on one of Johnny's benches in his garden. Not Johnny.
OJ, yeah.
And OJ flips the F out, which really should have played that more into the prosecutor's hands. Like,
absolutely.
This is where, if the roles were reversed, right, and Cochran was the prosecutor, or let's say if Cochran were the prosecutor and this happened, where
he would have gone to
taken that ball and run to the end zone with it.
Yeah.
But this is where the defense is the prosecution in this case, Marcia et al.
Outclassed.
They're outclassed, because if they had any sense about them at all, they would have pushed his buttons even more and gotten him to act more like a murderous rageaholic.
Yeah.
But instead, everybody's freaking out, like, oh no, we got to contain this. It's like, no, you've got to do that again.
Yeah, this was an unprovoked freak out on someone for sitting down. Completely telling to kind of this hair trigger kind of flip, that he had. His like switch goes off, and there it is. Okay, so we're getting, let's see. So that they walk through, it's crazy.
And then we get Cochran coming up to Darden. This dust up happens.
Yes.
Comes and like pats him on the shoulder, and then as this little aside before he kind of runs off, he says, "Oh, by the way, they're gonna make you do Furman. Don't do Furman. Make the white people do him." Yep. And that is another level of getting inside Darden's head. We're like, what does that mean? Is that good for you, Johnny Cochran? Is that good for me? It's like one of those things like, well, if he said that I should do it, then maybe I should. But maybe he thought that I was going to think that way. So maybe like that whole craziness. So he winds up calling his dad. He's like, Dad, I don't know how to do this. What did he mean? I kind of really, this is the point when I really felt for Chris. I was like, oh God, this guy is just going through it.
Yeah. He's questioning everything.
Right. He's got to question everything at every turn. It's just, God, it's exhausting,
And so his dad tells him to trust Johnny, which is amazing. He's just trying to help you.
Could it be possible that he's just trying to help you? And Chris,
I think, I gotta say, I think he is. You know what I mean? So then he has to go in, and Chris is now doing a pre-interview with Mark Furman, creepy Furman, and he's like,
"Can I just make one comment though back to the whole thing? I think that they're not mutually exclusive. The idea that he could want to help him and also want to help himself, because Darden, he is looking out for Darden, but he also knows it won't hurt him to help Darden in this particular instance.
Sure,
Like people do Furman, then it's not gonna take away from Cochran's case. If Darden does Furman, it's not gonna help them so much that it's gonna topple Cochran's case. So
it's very low risk. It's very low
risk for him in the case, but he gets to help his friend out, or he used to be his friend, or I guess they're not friends anymore. But maybe he's feeling bad about all of the.
I don't know. I think he was sincere. I really do.
It was a calculated sincerity, though, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Totally, completely calculated. So we get the comic relief of OJ commenting on the photos. Those aren't even my kids. I don't even know these people. As he's walking through the house, which is amazing. We have Chris talking to his dad, and he goes to interview Mark Furman, Chris, for a pre-interview, and Furman is just strangely reserved and a little creepy. He lists his best sports heroes as George Foreman and Magic Johnson. He kind of says he has no problem with interracial dating. He's never said the N-word. He gets really standoffish to a point about it. I mean, Darden really does go at him, kind of rapid fire, pretty hard questions. And then he leaves and he goes to Marcia and he's like, I'm not doing him. And she kind of looks crestfallen, like, oh, really? Oh, really? Like, I'm so busy. You really? And then goes, fine, I'll do him. And then Chris just goes, thanks, and walks out. So, yeah, great. And he's like, great, thanks. And then she goes, what's so difficult? It's just a cop on the stand. Dun, dun, dun.
Really.
And then we get as Wagner, because that's what you do. That's what you listen to when you polish your Nazi memorabilia. You put Wagner on.
When your racist Nazi character is polishing the case that holds his Nazi memorabilia, you play Wagner. It's right here in the book. It's right here in the book.
Isn't that right, Donald Trump? Anyway, so we have a close-up on his Nazi memorabilia, and then we end the episode. Dun, 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 for episode 6.
Pretty awesome. He does mention that he collects World War II memorabilia in the first.
He did. He did.
World War II.
I did catch that.
He's
technically not lying.
When he says World War, and he says, "Oh, I'm into World War II," and you're on the record as being a racist. Like, come on, put two and two together. That guy has Nazi medals. Totally.
Yeah, lots of them.
Yeah.
This is like pre-eBay, so so he has to go to like public places and buy these things. So that's it. I wanted to throw in, since we had the episode, that I do live in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm an African American woman. And I got my hair did last week, Jamie. And I went to my local hairdresser, and it was a Saturday. It was a packed room, and I decided to go, hey, anybody watching the OJ show on TV?
That's
and
amazing.
a lot of people were watching it, and we kind of all started chatting about it, and just organically it came up. Well, who thinks he's guilty? Would you like to guess what the results were of that poll? Because I took an unofficial Squeeze podcast poll at the hairdresser.
Do I have
at the beauty shop?
Take a guess?
Yeah. Well, just I don't know.
Do you think that? At the time, it was a pretty fair bet that most Black people thought he was.
Absolutely, it was an aberration to not think OJ was not guilty.
But now we're looking at. What is this?
2016, 18 years later. Yeah.
18 years later, another arrest and another conviction later. This is, he was arrested for killing somebody, right?
No, he stole his own. He stole his own memorabilia. Speaking of memorabilia.
I thought he was arrested for kidnapping.
No, he it's basically they saw a way to put him in jail and they did.
Charge. That's so weird.
I think anyway, they were all friends of his, and he said that the stuff was his. So it was like in Vegas at a hotel. So he broke in with a couple friends with guns and basically held them up to get his stuff back. But he was charged with armed robbery and blah blah blah.
Oh wow. Okay. Well.
Anyway, back to the squeeze poll.
So back to the squeeze poll. I'm gonna say that, I don't know, 20% flipped.
100%. Everyone in that room is like, OJ's guilty. Everybody knows that.
Guilty.
100 guilty.
100% flipped.
100%.
Right.
So it just goes to show you, and I think everyone was
Thanks,
kind of
Obama.
like, yeah, I don't think it's that. I think that everyone was kind of.
That was just a joke.
I know.
I don't think Obama.
I'm sorry. I'm taking it seriously. I don't know if it was policy or Republican. No, and it was basically everybody just saying, like, look, it was a time and place. We were all really hyped up. And there was actually like an older gentleman there that was like, nobody wanted to believe it.
Yeah.
You know,
coming right after the Rodney King thing.
Yeah.
Big deal. Everybody wanted vindication for that. Even some, white people, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I just wanted to update the world that as of 2016, the Black community, and funny aside, hold on,
in Brooklyn.
Well, last night I was actually out with my husband, and this old man sitting next to us at the theater asked me to speak for the Black community on Donald Trump, like a complete stranger. So I was like, I guess that's who I am now. And I was like, well, I don't speak for anyone besides myself, so sorry. And he was like, well, the Black community hates Bernie Sanders. So how do you feel about Donald Trump? And I'm like,
oh, so that's the alternative?
And I'm like, well, I like Bernie Sanders. So what do you? I'm like, so if I'm speaking for the community, then you love him. He's like, well, then maybe not you. Like, I'm like, sorry, I disappointed you, strange 75-year-old man that I now have to fight with for an armrest for the next 2.5 hours. Dick. Sorry, that's a true life story. That's a true life story. This is my life.
That is one thing you have to admire the old community for, which is being total dick, not giving a shit about it.
People, if you want to know what white privilege is, it's the fact that how many times have you been asked to speak for your whole community just going about your day?
Right.
Add that to the list somewhere, Allie Redmond. Add it to the list.
That's great.
It's annoying.
I like that.
Sorry, and I'm yelling now. Sorry.
You're not yelling.
Hyped.
You're not yelling. So let's talk about calling into the show, shall we? Because we are capable. We're willing and able. But
do we have a caller?
It's not really calling. It's more that you're going to join a Google Hangout with us.
Oh, future.
So you need to do this through Google Plus. That could be a barrier to entry that nobody's willing to. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, you would join the Google Hangout with us, and we have links on our Facebook page and whatnot. So yeah, join the Google Hangout. It's at Saturdays at 3. And we will be doing it next weekend as well for episode 6. And we are also still taking viewer emails. Sorry, Peter, we didn't get to your email again this week.
Sorry, Peter.
We have one email. This is why people don't write us, by the way.
Well, Jamie, here it is. What is our email address? Because that can help too.
Oh, right. It is thesqueezepodcast@gmail.com.
Also, you can catch us on Twitter at SqueezeCast. I got that myself. I'm proud of getting that handle.
I'm proud of you.
So and please like us on iTunes if you are subscribed. It's really the way of the world out there because you want to keep doing awesome shows and do the rest of the season. So like us on iTunes so we can get other people to write in that you don't have to.
Right. rate us on iTunes, review us, like our Facebook page if you haven't already. We are all of this is a means to an end to get us a really sweet
nothing
deal.
Yeah, just to keep doing this. I can't wait till the day that a stranger sends us an email. Like that's all I want is someone that we don't know. That'll be a big moment. So get on it, people listening.
Please. And that is going to do it for us. Thank you so much, Angela.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. And thank you, audience, fans, friends, for listening.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.